Greetings, DIYers. Now this is an introduction to my latest video, and I just want to explain what it's all about. It's a particular obsession with people around here, it seems to me, and I've called the video Getting the Man In, or something like that. I'll refine the title when I post it. And I'm recording this front piece just to explain things to you, but it may be going over some of the ground that I talk about in the video clips that I actually shoot out on the street. And so if that is the case, then I apologize. If I can cut that extra narration out, I will, but I think it's going to overlap slightly, but I'd rather just do this. Now, it's a particular Thai trait that I've noticed. I'm not saying that all Thais have it, but certainly it seems the case around here, and certainly it's the case with Noi, and therefore me personally. The first thing to say is that if you don't expect your partner, be it your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your business associate, whatever, don't expect them to be amenable to the idea of you doing it yourself, especially in the home decorating front. Now, when I was a younger man back in the UK, I was an ardent DIYer. You know, I installed my own central heating system, my own, I knocked down walls, I put in proper support beams and inserted windows and doors, and obviously the basic things like painting and decorating, wallpapering, all that sort of thing. I could do most things, and I was rather proud of that. Now, I must admit that as I've got older, I've felt less interested in doing any of this kind of stuff, and I'm quite happily able to leave it to others nowadays, especially living here where the cost of labour isn't quite so expensive. But if I raised the subject of doing it myself as far as home improvements around here, I would be left with a look of horror on Noi's face. In fact, just recently one of the back doors to the kitchen suffered from too much water because of it's the rainy season, and it swelled up, and the cleaner opened it and it wouldn't shut anymore. So I decided I wasn't gonna call for help and get a man in to do it, but to go down to the DIY shop and buy an angle grinder and the right flapper disc for it, and shrink the door down myself, which I managed to do fine. And that night Noi called me, and I said, I'd been having some problems with the back door, and before she could suggest getting a man in, I said, but I did it myself. And there was this thunderclap of silence from the other end of the telephone connection, as though to say, are you mad? What the hell are you doing? But anyway, I managed to convince her that it was a success. Anyway, following on from that, another thing I've noticed around here in this village is that people like to get the man in to do stuff, and the bigger the better. Why? Because it makes them look rich. All their neighbours think they've got huge amounts of money because they can afford to have men in and have huge jobs done. One of the first things that I fell foul of was my immediate neighbour on the left-hand side. That is a double-sized plot, so unlike me, he had a huge back garden, and he decided to put in a swimming pool. Now, this was right when the COVID outbreak was kicking off, and all I wanted to do was to just take shelter in my own house and ride out the COVID epidemic without coming into contact with anyone. But because of this guy, he wasn't just content with having a few men around digging a hole and filling it up with water. No, he wanted to build a bloody water park in there. He must have spent best part of 2 million baht on that job, I should think. It's just a huge job. And he had backhoes in there and all sorts of stuff, and it obviously culminated in the two Thai obsessions, which is hammer drilling and tile cutting. And this went on not for weeks, but for months. I should imagine that for 4 months I had to go out pretty well every day and, sit on an abandoned beach or just sit somewhere in my car to avoid all this noise. And I just particularly hate the noise of hammer drills and tile cutters. I think it's part of this autistic trait that I've suddenly found out about. Well, it's one of the traits. Autistic people don't like certain noises, loud noises, flashing lights, all that. It's just, I'm sure it's something to do with that, but I've got a hatred of hammer drills and tile cutters. So for 4 months I couldn't even sit in my own bloody house, and I've hated that guy ever since, quietly. And then on the other side of the road, one set of houses down, that house was sold. It was in a pretty derelict condition, and the people that bought that, they must have spent well over 1 million baht, which is about $20,000, with an extensive refit, which again took 2-3 months and involved copious amounts of hammer drilling and tile cutting. In fact, right in the early days, they were having the whole inside and outside of the property retiled, and they had a whole Isan family involved in doing that, and they decided to take up residence in the house because no one else could live in it, obviously. So they must have had permission to live in the bloody thing. But they were so slow and useless and whatever. And the man, the father of the house, the leader of the family, the leader of the tribe, he had this big loud laugh which really pissed me off. And one of the happiest days of my life was when the customer finally rumbled them that they were useless, and the whole family was rounded up and sat in the back of this pickup truck and driven off in disgrace. And I was there to see it, and I was quite happy to have got the last laugh on that occasion. But anyway, eventually the work was done, and it all quietened down again, and normality ensued. But right at the beginning, about 6 weeks ago, right at the time that I decided I was completely wasted and I had to give up drinking, some ominous signs in that house started appearing, like all of a sudden a section of the railings disappeared in the front, and I knew what was coming. They decided to build a garage and a new entrance to the house. I've seen other people do it, so I knew what was coming. And eventually that's what proceeded to happen. And a Chinese outfit would have had the whole lot done in about a week, but being Thailand, this took them, they've only just finished, in fact, so it's taken them a good 6 weeks of various hammer drilling and tile cutting. Admittedly, it wasn't all that bad, and I did just go out quite a lot of the times, but they took Sundays off, which was great because I could just hang out in the house on Sundays and whatever. So it wasn't nearly as bad as the swimming pool thing or the initial refurbishment of the house. But anyway, it's done now, and they've bought a brand new Mercedes car to park in their new drive, and they're walking around. Oh, they used to walk around like they we're so rich, but they're even worse now. My God. I mean, if I was to tell them that the Mercedes that they bought, which is a 2-litre diesel, wouldn't even qualify to be a taxi where I come from, they'd be a bit abashed. But over here, that's a serious chunk of change. You know, you could probably buy a small apartment with the amount of money that car cost. Anyway, the job is now finished, and hopefully normality is going to re-ensue, but I'm cognizant of the fact that new people are moving into the rental property which is behind me. So there's someone in there tonight, and I don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, the house has just been completely repainted and whatever, and as it's a rental, the knock on wood for good luck, the new owners are hardly likely to rip it apart and start Kango hammering and tile cutting. So I'll update you on that one, but now we'll lead into the main video, which is just me explaining about the neighbours becoming even more rich and messing around with their house. So this is a long video, just started off just the introduction, so I better make the video clips at the end short. So anyway, enjoy. Well, my neighbours on the other side of the road, not next door neighbours, but my neighbours on the other side of the road have got the man in, and that is something that is, in my mind, a little bit peculiar to Thailand. Do-it-yourself seems to be almost unknown here. I've only ever once in all the 20 odd years that I've been here, off and on, known about or experienced anyone actually doing up their own house. And if you look a bit closer, I've never seen any real do-it-yourself shops either. Sure, there's a shop in our local Lotus Mall that has got Mr. Do-It-Yourself, but it isn't really. It's just, power adapters and power cords and the occasional tap and whatever that you might buy, but nothing really heavy duty for actually doing shit yourself. And it's the same with cars. I've never seen a equivalent of the American sort of O'Reillys or the British Halfords or anything like that. So if anything goes wrong, you take your car to the garage to get it fixed, or you get the man to come round, which is all I've ever done. And it's the same with stuff going wrong in the house as well. It's strange. Well, it's not strange, it's just the way they are. And over the years, when I was a younger guy, I did everything myself, you know? Absolutely everything. I put in my own central heating and my own windows and Lord knows what else. But out here, that would be unthinkable. And I even, early on in our relationship, I even suggested to Noi that I do something, and she thought I was mad and strictly forbade it. No, you get the man to come round, and when the man gets round your house, you might find he's only a young guy and you look down on him with contempt. Well, I do anyway. But okay, fine. Eventually the job gets done, although I normally have to have stuff done twice or 3 times before I'm satisfied with it. But anyway, that's the way it is. But the neighbours, they've got the man in today and yesterday, and it made me kind of think that one thing I've noticed is whenever one of the neighbours has the man in, then one by one all the others feel obliged to do the same. I think they feel jealous and they want to make a statement that they can actually afford to have stuff done in their house. Me being a little bit crazy, of course, it made me reach out a bit with my mind and think that if it was me, I'd ask the man to come around with his hammer drill and his tile cutter and make as much noise as possible to make the neighbours think that I'm having some really big stuff done and therefore I'm rich. Whereas in reality, I might just be having someone put a plug on my washing machine or something like that, you know. So we fall into a state of collective jealousy, collective hysteria, and there's quite a good business to be made, I should think, you know. You get one of these guys to come round and he brings his own hammer drill and maybe his own lump of concrete and hide him around the back of your house, where he starts kangoing away on this lump of concrete and really pissing off the neighbours, but they all think you're rich because you're having a new garage built or an extension put on the back of the house. The other one is tile cutting. The two sounds prevalent in Thailand wherever you go are kango hammering and tile cutting. Guaranteed to, well, they are both noises that I absolutely hate to have going on around me when I'm in my house trying to enjoy the moment, you know. But you hear it all the time. Prior to the build-up of the tourist trade again, it was rife in the beach resorts. Everyone was having their shops and their bars and whatever refurbished. So they were all kangoing away and tile cutting and doing God knows what, you know. So it was a bloody cacophony, I can tell you. But anyway, they had the man in. So I think he was only working in the garden, really. He wasn't doing much. So if he starts making a lot of noise, you'll be the first to know, because I'll start moaning about it.
Well, as if on cue, my wonderful neighbours have given me something to give you an example. I was only out there to clean the outside wall, and then they decided that to hold their end up, they would have to get the man in. So looks to me what they're doing is, apart from making a fucking lot of noise, is building an entrance. Now they're going to be knocking that front wall down and building a garage. Hopefully they won't build a garage, but just build a place to put a car. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning and they've already woken me up with a Kango hammer. So what we're in for now is about a week of Kango hammering, tile cutting, usual thing, which means I've got to go out pretty well every day, and just to avoid the noise, because I just can't stand it. So yesterday was all right, but well, this morning I'm gonna go around the lake again. That should burn up most of this morning, and this afternoon I'm desperately trying to avoid using it as an excuse to go down the pub, because I don't want to. But it's just crazy. Yeah, well, it's not crazy, it's just where you live. The sound of Thailand is Kango hammering and tile cutting. And it's like a disease, as I said. Once one household starts, then all the others chip in. I must say again, as if on cue, I come out there with the camera and all the Kangoing has stopped, you know, but the main thrust of it is they're going to be tearing that front wall down. So that is cause all the noise, and also they're going to be they have to tear that sidewalk out to provide a drive-in. So anyway, get back to you later.
Howdy, couch potatoes. I hope you're doing well. I think I'm going to cut this video short right here, because I'm up to about 20 minutes and most people, including myself, are losing interest after 20 minutes. So that's going to end this particular video, and I'll make a part 2 of getting the man in, and I hope you enjoy that one. Cheers.